Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am Sierra Bazell, and we have a special guest with us today. Today, we have Dr. Sam, and I will allow her to give you a little bit of information about herself. Welcome, Dr. Sam.
Thank you so much for having me. I am Dr. Sam Price. I'm a licensed naturopathic physician. I'm an expert in natural medicine through my #1 best-selling book, My Concierge Medical Practice, my live event, Vital the Experience. I help to bridge conventional and alternative medicine to transform your illness into wellness. And I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, thank you for being here. Today we want to talk about diabetes. We have a lot of people in the United States and in the world in general now who are dealing with this issue of diabetes. And we want to just give you some information about diabetes and how we can use diet, supplements, and different things to help our bodies to heal. So, Dr. Sam, can you tell us what causes diabetes?
Wow. So there's actually 3 different types of diabetes. So let's do 3 different types of diabetes so we understand the difference.
Mhm.
Type 1 used to be called juvenile diabetes because we used to see it in kids, right?
Mhm.
And kids usually. That's actually when the pancreas, an organ in your body that secretes insulin, stops working. Okay. And what we used to think was that it was really an autoimmune disease where a toxin or a virus or something like that attacked the pancreas and destroyed the beta cells that release insulin, which is the hormone that we're talking about when we talk about diabetes, period. Okay.
Mhm.
It is not called juvenile anymore because we have quite a few people who have type 1 as type 2 develops into type 1. So that's type 1. Type 2 means that your pancreas isn't utilizing the insulin correctly.
Mhm.
Now we're seeing kids with type 2 diabetes, which is really
Mm.
sad. It used to be that you would see it like later in life, maybe after your 40s or whatnot. But with our kids getting larger, overweight, and eating certain types of foods and having lack of exercise and whatnot, we see quite a few children with type 2 diabetes.
Mhm.
Type 3 is called gestational diabetes, and this only happens in pregnancy.
Mhm.
And usually it's caused by the fact that the woman has an excessive amount of hormones being produced, right?
Mhm.
It usually goes away after the pregnancy once she delivers the child, but that woman is at an increased risk for type 2 diabetes in the future. So those are the different types. So what is super important is that type 1, where you've got a virus or a toxin that attacks the pancreas,
Mhm.
might not be preventable. Yes, we want to try to avoid autoimmune diseases and things like that. But type 2, definitely preventable. It is literally 90% preventable by diet and lifestyle. And that's super, super important. So even if you are at a pre-diabetic state, so that would
Mhm.
mean that doctor does some lab work and your glucose or your insulin is off, let's just say off,
Mhm.
can decrease the risk factor by 60% with just diet and lifestyle. It's completely
Mm.
preventable. And so it's really hard to see um, patients, especially African American patients,
Mhm.
because we're at an increased risk factor right now for
Mhm.
diabetes. Because maybe it's socioeconomic, I'm not really sure, but we see quite a few African Americans with diabetes,
Mhm.
and it's preventable with diet and lifestyle. So,
Mhm.
I did my residency with Peter Diadamo. He's the author of Eat Right for Your Blood Type. So I have a master's in blood type science. And
Mhm.
I feel like if you just can eat according to your blood type, which is a genetic based diet,
Mhm.
you are more likely to decrease your risk factor, let's say.
Hmm. Wow, that's very interesting. I've done a little bit of study on the blood type diet, but not too much. So to say that eating for your blood type can decrease this risk factor is amazing.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's really
Everybody needs to know their blood type.
hmm Wow, that is really good. Now, what habits put people at a risk for developing diabetes?
Smoking,
Hmm.
lack of sleep, dehydration, not pooping. Not poop. Everybody's like, oh my God, don't tell me about that. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. We have to poop. There are toxins in our body. Not eating the proper foods, which we've already talked about, right? Lack of exercise, lack of movement. So if you're not properly hydrated, you can't actually push the toxins out, right? If you're not sleeping correctly, you're actually at an increased risk factor of developing diabetes because sleep actually affects leptin, ghrelin, and insulin, those three specific hormones in your body. So you have to get 8 hours of sleep every night. Got to move around. So it's lifestyle, eating fast foods, eating late at night. There's a things that we can do, lifestyle factors that affect our risk factor for diabetes.
Wow. Oh my goodness. You wouldn't think that sleep would be tied to diabetes, but that's really
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
So you
Yes,
need
ma'am.
those 8 hours of sleep every night. And if you're a person that gets, broken sleep, or maybe someone who works third shift, that could
Oh,
probably.
third shift is really bad. So the less sleep you get, it's an inverse proportion. So the less sleep you get, the increase your cravings are in your appetite, specifically for carbohydrates, which then turns to sugar in the blood. So that's where you get the sleep and diabetes correlation.
Wow, that's really good information because I'm sure that not most people know that. They think, oh, well, I can just catch up on the sleep later and it'll be fine.
No, you got to
Wow.
get it every night, every night.
Wow, that's really good. What can a person do to avoid diabetes? So, for a person like me, I have a family history of diabetes. My grandmother, when she passed away, her diabetes had gotten completely out of control. My dad was pre-diabetic, but he kind of listened to me and changed his diet. So things have gotten better for him.
Good,
Um,
good.
yes, but what can we do to make sure that we are decreasing these risk factors?
I'm so happy that you brought up the genetic factor because,
Hmm.
yeah, there is a genetic factor that goes along with diabetes. And, I'll have patients come in and they're like, well, my aunt has it, my mom has it. I know I'm going to get it. Oh, well, you know what I mean? I'm just
Hmm.
destined to have diabetes. That's
Hmm.
not true. If you change your diet and your lifestyle right now, you can decrease that risk factor by 60%. So that is, we know that for a fact. So let's just talk about one, let's know your blood type so that you're
Hmm.
eating correct for your blood type. That automatically is going to decrease inflammation in the body and help to prevent diabetes.
Hmm.
So, blood type O, you would want to do really good, lean, organic meat and
Hmm.
stay from grains, all right?
Hmm.
Type O. Blood type A should be a vegetarian. You can't digest the meat very well, so you
Hmm.
don't want red meats. Maybe you can have a little bit of chicken every once in a while or turkey.
Hmm.
Seafood, fine. But really, you want to be a vegetarian. That's, I
Hmm.
mean, very generalized stuff on blood
Hmm.
type. Blood type B needs to avoid chicken and corn. No chicken and corn for a blood type B, right?
Hmm.
Blood type AB is a mix between blood types A and blood types B. All
Hmm.
right. Chicken, they really want to beef up their vegetables. They can have um, some grain, but
Hmm.
not a lot. So you really need to look up the AB. But you can definitely do a lot of the blood type specific things. There's certain supplements and exercises specifically for the blood types. If you want me to tell you that go along with
Hmm.
preventing or helping with diabetes, you want me to go into that?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Um, for all the blood types, my favorite go-to is green tea. So green tea actually helps with insulin resistance. So remember
Hmm.
when talking about type 2 diabetes is that you're not utilizing the insulin correctly. So green tea helps you utilize the insulin. So green tea for all the blood types, right?
Mm-hmm.
For blood type O specifically, I would use chromium. It helps you to metabolize carbohydrates better. And
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrates, if your audience doesn't understand, when you're eating carbs and you digest it, it turns into sugar in the blood, which is that glucose we keep talking about. So insulin drives the glucose inside the cell, and then once the glucose is inside the cell, it turns into energy, and it fuels us, and it lets us like do our daily activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want a bunch of glucose floating around, so we need to metabolize the carbohydrate the way that we need to, and chromium is really great for that for blood type O.
Mm-hmm.
The exercises for blood type O would be cardiovascular stuff, so aerobics, running on the treadmill, all the stuff I don't like to do as a blood type. Blood type A, I said green tea, but quercetin is fantastic. It definitely helps to prevent any complications from diabetes if you already have it. I like quercetin a lot. And then the exercise for a blood type A would be Tai Chi and yoga. So blood type A's have a high amount of cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And if we can lower that, so Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, all of those are really great for a blood type A. Blood type B, like I said, green tea, of course, but also I would use magnesium because magnesium is oftentimes a deficiency I find in blood type Bs. That helps with cramps and all kinds of things that like neuropathy that you might see in diabetes. So just to make sure that they're having enough magnesium for blood type B. And then martial arts and tennis as an exercise for blood type Bs. And then my little idiosyncrasy little ones that are blood type AB, they're very rare. Kind of a mixture between the A and the B. So green tea specifically, but quercetin and zinc. There's oftentimes a deficiency in zinc as well. So you'll see the A and the B in the AB supplements. And then I would like for them to do things like aerobics and martial arts as their lifestyle exercise things that I want them to do.
Wow, that is really good. I've never heard anybody talk about exercise for your blood type.
Specifically, yes.
Wow, this is really interesting. Oh my gosh. I'm such a geek and a nerd when it comes to these things, so I'm completely intrigued. Wow, this is amazing information, and this can really, really help a lot of people because nobody talks about eating, exercising, and supplements for your blood type. People have, little information about a diet, maybe don't eat this, don't do this, but definitely not this information. So this is amazing. Now, you said that diet is extremely important for people who are dealing with diabetes. What about those who are dealing with gestational diabetes? Because as a doula, I do get a lot of these clients who say, oh, my doctor said that I have gestational diabetes. What do I do?
They're going to do the same thing. So I would tell them, OB, I don't do kids either. But I was pregnant. A little bit of, you know what I mean? So even patients that, get pregnant while they're in my practice and whatnot, they're still on the same blood type diet because it's anti-inflammatory and it's actually genetic based for them, right? And so you want to avoid sugar as much as possible. And I think that like when I was pregnant, I know certain foods for my diabetic patients that are high, we call it high glycemic index, which means they spike your glucose, right? So bananas, grapes, carrots, even though you think that carrots are really great and they're a vegetable and everything, they have a high glycemic index. So I would avoid those things while you're pregnant. Just especially if you have a gestational diabetes, right? So just try to keep your sugar content as low as possible. You have to still have carbs while you're pregnant and whatnot. You need fuel for the baby, but just be aware of what you're eating and get good fats and good carbs and those types of things. So.
Wow, that's really good information, because a lot of them are being placed on a diet that's like, oh, well, eat whole grains and eat this and eat that. And I'm always like, yeah,
Ah!
yes, that
Increase your
may not.
protein. Increase your protein.
Yes. Yes, that's really good. What other health tips can you offer people who are, maybe just borderline diabetic, not quite diabetic yet? Because sometimes doctors will go as far now as putting patients on medication when they're borderline. They did that with my dad, and I was like, you really don't need that. But,
No,
you know,
no, no.
so.
So I think that if they're borderline, at bare minimum, I would have do 2 to 3 cups of green tea. And I actually really, really like the green tea that's the Costco brand. It's called Kirkland.
Mhm,
It's the tea bag kind, right?
mhm,
For loose leaf, of course. But if you're going to use a tea bag kind, I like the Costco brand. It's called Kirkland.
mhm,
So green tea, because we know that that helps with insulin regulation.
mhm,
Think that bare minimum a probiotic for digestive health. There's a lot to do with the way you digest your foods and things like that that affect diabetes. So definitely a probiotic. Sleep, like I said, making sure that you're getting the proper sleep and hydration. You need to drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day.
mhm.
Hydration is overlooked in our society and it does a lot. It's going to help you eliminate toxins and whatnot and move the poop through.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say a probiotic, hydration, sleep, green tea. Those would be my 4, and a fish oil. So EPA, DHA, and a fish oil. So those 5 things.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam. This was amazing. You
You're
gave us a
welcome.
lot of information that nobody else is offering. How can people find you if they would like more information or maybe to work with you?
Yes, thank you, thank you. So I have a website. It is drsamnd.com. So that's DRSAMMN as in naturopathic, D as in doctor.com. And
Mhm.
then I have my wellness retreat, which is coming up next year in September. So you can find out information about that. It's vitalexperience.events. So that's V as in Victor, ITAL experience dot events, EVENTS.
Oh, thank you so much. And we
You
look
are so
forward to
welcome.
working with you in the future and maybe even having
Thank
you back to
you.
talk about something else if
Oh,
you would like to come back.
I would love to. Thanks for having
Thank
me. I really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sam. Thanks, guys. See you next time.